Got 4 more minutes, so we'll put ourselves on mute until. Hey, Ed, you just have to turn off your mic. Can you let us know if you can hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, good.
Okay,
All right.
Ed, your mic's turned off.
Oh, he's muted himself. Yeah, that's fine.
What's going
Yeah.
on?
I'm
There we
just
go.
close the lid open. Oh.
Okay.
All right. All ready to go.
Okay, can you hear us, Ed?
Yeah,
Yeah, he said he couldn't hear.
Okay,
but he's not speaking. Ed, can you acknowledge, please? Ask on mute.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Hey.
Just leave the mic, just leave it on. Okay, here we go.
can you hear us, Bob?
I can.
Okay. Okay, so we'll open this meeting at
9:35.
9:35. Is there any additions to the agenda?
I have two,
Okay,
6.2 revised employee safety manual policy. B 18. And 7.1 municipal office building engineered proposal site plan.
okay, what are you moving 6.2 to?
She's adding it.
I added it.
That's just new, but it's already on here.
Yes,
She gave you an updated.
you have an updated copy.
And then the other one was the building.
Yes.
Is that in camera or?
No.
Okay. And what number was that?
7.1. Yes.
Need a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
I have some in-camera stuff.
Okay, is it lands, legal, or personnel?
Personnel and land use file. So what's that legal?
Land use is not legal. Land use bylaw is not legal.
Okay, so
It would be a regular item if you want to discuss land use bylaw, If we have also talked about, I sent an email to Leanne. In regards to if there was any amendments or changes to the land use bylaw, what would be the process? So. My advice would be to wait until I bring that with an RFT, and then you can pose if that is something you want to move forward with as part of the budgetary.
so like if there is any.
That's when you could talk about whether you feel it's necessary based on budgetary and the proposal that I bring to you guys. If you want to review the land use bylaw and make any amendments or changes.
Okay, because I'm certainly in favor of giving some adjustments.
And that's why I think it should be, there's a budgetary number, and I think it would be very useful for council to understand all this, so you guys can have that discussion in the format that's in your votes.
Okay, so generally when we've done it before, I think also.
Right, it's just that with all the municipal government changes and the processes that you have to follow with making sure you're transparent, accountable, and you're doing your consultations. I want to make sure that we are following all the new things now, especially land use bylaws. They are very temperamental. And so I want to make sure that we understand exactly the steps. If they're minor, what do we do? What is there a cost? And then you guys can have that discussion, because I think that would be fair to have that information. And it's gonna, if it has a budgetary requirement, then you need to know.
Well,
Yes.
but not very much.
Yes.
You're kind of breaking up a bit when you talk, so.
I talk louder.
Yeah, all I'm saying is, that there would, if
Sorry.
we. Do anything with land use bylaw, it's gotta be done properly, and there will be a budget cost of it, but it's not like. You and full land use bylaw, like last time you did it, it was around $30,000. But with this kind of a deal, it would be. Just some wording.
Yeah,
And it would be very minimal, and then the public hearing could just be in conjunction with a council meeting.
Right, and that's what I sent an email to Leanne to please provide me all that stuff so you guys have it. To be able to make that decision.
So what we'll do then, we'll just table it until that, till the next meeting.
sure.
And then also, the other one was just some in the closed session was the human resources items.
Yeah, I wanted to have that in camera.
So in camera, human resources, 12.1,
Yes,
Okay.
Hold on.
personnel.
Person. This doesn't get this. Okay, so we
To
need
move
the
to approve the agenda as amended with the three.
adoption of the agenda.
I'll motion that we adopt that as amended.
Thank you. So the previous minutes.
Your emissions.
Errors, omissions, I never had any, I had a question,
Okay.
so, we may be looking at the dog bylaw.
I am working on that as part of the budget stuff, because again, it's a budgetary item. I'm getting all my quotes and kind of starting to bring them forward as I'm receiving them. So we can know where we're directing things and if it's going to be part of the 2024 budget.
Okay, and then the other one I had was, just. A question on what. Has anything happened on the water debenture? Have you had any discussion?
I had a talk with the vet and we're working on getting a meeting together. And trying to set up something so we can start having some of these discussions. And I did send off an email to Andrew. Requesting all the information regarding any requisitions, anything else.
Krista Cornelison just emailed about something about Shirley McClellan requisition. Right now, so.
Yeah, but I've been asking for all the details for 2024, so I know what's going on.
Okay, because sometimes there's deadlines and that, if you miss a day, then you're out. You know, if you wanted to pay anything on our debenture for them, for the last section, yeah.
No, I'm working with sending the emails, trying to gather everything so we can make proper decisions for 2024.
Okay, did you have anything, Ed?
No, can you hear me?
Yes,
You can hear me?
yes,
Yes. Oh, okay. No, I didn't have anything at this time.
okay, Bob?
No, I didn't have any changes to the minutes.
Okay, so we just need the adoption of the minutes?
So I can make the motion that we adopt the minutes from the previous meeting.
Okay, thank you. And there's no public hearing, no delegation. Some policies. So 6.1.
So I provided you guys a request for decision, I brought back the council remuneration policy. So the general idea of this is council's remuneration expense policy is to provide guidelines which provide for reasonable compensation for carrying out the duties of an elected official. The purpose of the policy is to ensure that the compensation rules for councillors is applied fairly and equitably among the council, and also ensure accountability and transparency on the use of taxpayer funding in the compensation of council members. So I've done a review, and I think we need to tighten this up more, and I did provide you guys. So one of the things is meetings which require the attendance of a member of council for the Summer Village of White Sands, remuneration shall as follows, so we have that added in there. And an allocation as identified in the yearly budget shall be allowed for each member of the council with regards to remuneration. Excluded from remuneration shall be those events attended as a representative of council which are strictly social in nature. So this is some of the points that are in your current policy. So there is a couple of things that I've found that we haven't been following quite clearly, and I think I need to make sure that we amend or fix and make sure that we start doing it properly in the format the policy is laid out. So attached in the council package, I provided the information is laid out in policy under 2.8, which is at the end of each year. The administrator shall prepare a summary of council meetings and expenses, which I've added in. Remuneration annual amount will now be paid monthly at the end of each month to be able to be consistent with the annual budget cycle from January to December per year, as per 2.5, which is what it says, of the current policy. Expense reports will need to be provided by the council monthly as reflected in the policy. So what we're gonna do is your annual will now get paid to you. That annual honorarium just for the regular council meeting attendance will now become monthly. And we can set that up because we have a flat basis for that.
What's the reason for that?
Well, it's stated in our policy and we haven't been doing that. We've been doing it once a year and it's not actually current with our actual annual cycle. Our annual cycle is January to December, not September to the September of the next year. So we're not following our policy and we're not creating it within the annual budget, which is a bit unfortunate that this wasn't caught, but I caught it now. And as this is a new year, we need to start following the policy to keep it in the current cycles.
Okay, so when it was changed. It was, so our elections are in July, end of July,
Right,
so if someone. This is just some history,
yes,
so if someone was getting off council.
then they would be paid up to those months only. And their expense sheet would have to come in. So that's what I'm saying, like, we need to tighten the policy up better. Because you would still get paid your monthly, and then we should have, most policies that I reviewed. Have a set, you have 60 days to, after an election, to get your expense reports in. To be paid out.
Okay. So
Okay,
as long as that's taken care of, because before,
yes,
years ago, the person that left didn't get any, honorarium for that year that he was there.
and the problem was, I think, what I've noticed is, well, when the election happened, then we paid them for a whole year. But we need to keep it in the budget cycle, and the budget cycle is actually January to December. That's what we budget for, so,
Yeah, and that's the confusing part.
yes,
So
so.
all it really means is that you're just gonna send a monthly check rather than like October or something, they did it before or whatever, yeah. It's fine, I mean, it's all the same amount of money, right? So. Yeah,
Exactly. We would just take that 1750 annual, divide it by the 12 months of this year and pay you monthly out of that. It'll become an automatic deposit or a check that you will receive.
I'm fine with that.
I'm not, because I have to do it every damn month.
Well,
Oh.
we're supposed. That's
Okay.
what the,
Like, I
Because-
personally don't care one way or the other, honestly. It's not like I'm worried about the money, you know?
yeah. And then the other thing was, the administrator collects the forms, but it is not up to the CAO to approve council expenses. It's really not up to me. That is council oversight over council. So the policy needs to provide administration clear direction, as this policy is council's direction to ensure that compensation rules for councilors is applied fairly and equitably and ensuring transparency. So I found a couple of things that I think need to be tightened up. Through other municipal council policies that other councils have discussed. Signing off on timesheets, mayor does a review and signing of other councilors, but a deputy mayor usually does the review and signing of the mayor's. So that's your accountability. If there is an inappropriate claim, what are the parameters for reference? And if not in the policy, what is the step for review, discussion, and approval? Does it go back to council or is it under one member's decision?
Oh, it should go back to council.
Yeah.
So that's another thing that needs to be tightened up better in the bylaw or the policy. What about local events, parades, etc.? Are they covered under the remuneration and what is included and not included? So right now, it looks like just your regular council meetings that's clearly laid out. But maybe we need to have that needs to be tightened up a little
A
better.
parade is not, to me, it's nothing to do with council meeting or not a committee meeting or anything else like that. I mean, if there was a committee meeting with the Hall Society with a council member to put the parade together, yes. But just to go in the parade, no.
Okay.
Other than buying candy.
So I think there needs to be better clarity on what you would feel would be included, what's not covered, because this is making it easier because if you're handing me the timesheets, then I'm just gonna go through the policy and revert. If it's all laid out in the policy, there's nothing, I just hand them over. And so it makes it easier and accountable on both sides, right?
Yeah, no, that's fine.
So I think.
But I don't know, what do you, Ed and Bob, what do you think? Like, if you go in the parade, that's not.
Oh, no, absolutely not. I mean, I really only, like if it even is just a short meeting with the Hall Society for, to help plan the parade, I'm not sure I would even want to cover. Would only submit when I go and have a meeting with the ambulance board or the, waste management board and things like that. Going in the parade, or the golf tournament things, you're going there as a member of the community, right?
And
Yeah,
I
I agree.
agree with what you guys are saying. I just want you to be aware that, because these policies, if you don't have things clear, I have run into in other municipalities where a counselor went onto the parent committee of a school and he was charging for attending it, but that was by his choice. It took council to decide that ain't happening because taxpayers were getting upset.
Well, you can see that, like.
So that's why a little better clarity with the policy
Yeah.
is
So
what.
when I said, let's say if there's preparation for a parade or something, if there was arrangements, like a big committee meeting to do something different, like let's say fireworks or whatever else, if you
Yeah.
wanted to get a in and all, and if it was an extensive meeting, yeah, that's a committee meeting. But if it is like Bob says, if it's just a Hall Society meeting, like I don't charge for Hall Society meetings or doing that because I'm a member.
So you guys agree there should be more clarity and you'd like some
Yeah.
examples of that?
Straighten it
Sure.
out. Sure.
Yes, that's fine.
And what if appointed to a board or committee and another counselor wishes to attend, do you both get paid? That's running,
I would say yes,
Okay.
because we run into that all the time with the sometimes you need more clout at the landfill. Or there's something being discussed at the IDP that they want full council there, of course they should be paid for it as a committee meeting.
IDPs, if we have that already listed in that organizational, that all council is part of that, then that's all covered too. So it's just, what I'm looking for is, if you guys are in agreement that we need better clarity, then I can draft up something and then you can have discussions over it and make your amended changes that you want before we do anything further. When doing an annual review, do you want external market surveys to be conducted with the market comparable list of municipal communities? So the administration has clear direction for conducting this annual. There were many policies now are listing what communities they want to compare to. So when they make a decision on remuneration, they have something they're making a comparison to, which does help for me as an administrator, so I know where I'm looking. Is it gonna be locally within the area, or is it going to be all over the place based on population, those kind of things? Are there any special allowances for personal cell phones, printers, stationery, etc.? We don't really have much to clarify all this, which is very hard for me.
Yeah, so I think, like, depends who it is, uses more office supplies like paper than someone else. I think nothing to do, like, I don't know, I use a hell of a lot of paper and a lot of ink. But it's in my own printer and I don't. I guess that's the only thing. I guess
Well, I think those, you know, like I don't say print a whole lot off. I'm not that worried about it. But I know Lauren does for sure, and I think that there should be some reimbursement for that because, you know, those printer ink cartridges are very expensive.
Okay, see, and these are things I need to know is so that we can get everything nice and clear and it's transparent and it's accountable and nobody can sit here and nitpick because it's in a policy.
So
Does
so
that
yeah,
make
I think I agree that you should go ahead with it. And can we have marked up copies like in red or whatever? Like, you know, can we, when you make the changes, send us the initial thing with a marked up copy, like red ink or green or whatever.
Yeah, no, I'm good with that. So if you guys are okay with the 10 points I provided.
I had some questions on the allocation for counselors per term for professional development. I think that's one of the most important things that a counselor can do.
Yes.
As well as administration,
Yeah,
is to keep up on education that's important. I'm not talking about going to some frilly dilly thing just because you wanna go somewhere for some training. If it's pertinent to the municipality and to governance, then you should do the best you can.
yes.
Get educated, because it's getting more and more difficult.
And I guess for me, what I'm trying to do is get it better in relation to the budget. So that if there's ever any questions, it's all within the policy and this is the reason why council has a budget for this, this and this. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I think just go at it and then
Okay,
just don't make it too complicated. So that you're gonna, like, you wanna put your main stuff in there, but you don't wanna create yourself a big old job here either.
no, but I do think we have to become more accountable and transparent so that everything is listed carefully. And there's a reason why your budget number is this.
Yeah, and I think when you put the expenses all in that list there.
Yeah.
That's a good thing, like the public should be able to see it.
That's
They
right.
don't know how, they don't have to know whose it is or whatever, but if they wanted to know, they could ask.
Well, and that's why I wanted to make sure that you guys understood, because there's many municipalities, because this is the council's policy. It's not my policy. I'm just looking for clear directions so that when I create the budgets, I've got allocations for professional development, because you say you want professional development and you're gonna allow it to this amount of money. and I budget for it. You see what I, like, I wanna make sure that everything has a correlation, how it affects the budget, so that it's accountable, transparent, and this is why.
Yeah,
So I've got two recommendations. So basically what I'd be looking for is a motion from council for administration to provide updates and samples of policies for council review to the next meeting.
yeah, I'll make that.
Did you get it?
Are you guys in favor?
I'm in favor. Yeah, I'm in
Yeah.
favor.
Okay, so I'm gonna read it. So, moved by Councilor Thurston to have administration provide updates and samples of remuneration.
Municipal remuneration council policies for review and
I kind of have something up to remuneration. Okay, so provide updates and samples of municipal remuneration policies and bring back a copy of the changes made in the current policy.
bring back a draft
Yes, that's good. Bring back a yes. Bring back a-
for council to review at the next regular council meeting. And it's scheduled, that's my job.
Okay,
Policies reviewed at the next regular council meeting on February 21st, 2024.
Correct.
Good,
Yeah, no doctor who made the motion,
Lauren did.
okay, and
Yeah.
now it's for you guys to decide if you're in favor.
we're in favor.
Yes.
Perfect.
Just on your next one there, Melissa. Just that 2 pages, there was 2.3.
Yep.
There's just a mistake in there. It's the alcohol business. But Will,
Yeah. No, I know, that can't be, that
No.
is, that's why I said this policy is not working.
well, we already
because-
changed that to will not.
Well, and top it off, I'll get this fixed. That's why we're doing this, is because maybe I need to review all of what the others are, what's the current, what's the CRA, what are they allowing? To make this more clear and transparent.
Yeah,
But you're right, alcohol is never included, and you cannot even get your gratuity back when it comes to alcohol.
yeah, so this just needs cleaning up.
Yes.
Well, I guess is you a doctor have, I'll just look at it.
You betcha, and then you guys will review and decide if you're in agreement or if you wanna see any changes. That's the whole point of getting this policy.
Okay,
It's the process.
okay, so, 6.2 revised employee safety manual policy.
Yes, so I hired a actual health and safety consultant. And she took a look through our employee safety manual, did a gap analysis and redid it. So our original policy was done in 2019, it was 111 pages. After all the regulation changes and everything, we now have a 250-page employee safety manual. So, yeah, this, our policy just wasn't accurate. So I have totally redone the policy so that the employee safety manual becomes a standalone document under administration, which is what it does and what it should do. And now the new policy that I've provided and totally changes what was existing and lays out the responsibilities between council and budgets, chief administrative officer, and employees and supervisors. Because if council doesn't make sure that in the budgets they're allowing for health and safety, then we're not gonna get anywhere. So we could have a policy all we want, but it needs to be laid out that council is in support of the employee safety, right? And that comes in your budgets when you pass your budgets annually. And then I need to do the implementation and make sure I provided you what we're lacking and what we need within the budget realm. So if you see the old policy just did a bunch of stuff that was, you have a safety manual, it's all in there. It's just defining now the roles and responsibilities.
So that new copy is electronic.
Yes. It's electronic and it's now got revision numbers on it because there are more changes coming from what I understand from occupational health and safety, because everybody's talking about tightening up harassment and bullying. So I think we're in for more changes. So now the policy will list revision 1, revision 2, as the changes come into play, we'll be able to amend it and it'll continue flowing.
So then you're gonna put it on, it's gonna be on our website.
It's the employee safety manual. It is for the internal of the organization. So this employee safety manual is for every person who's hired, works here. We must follow this.
Will it, will it be electronically on our Great Sands website?
For employees, but it's not public.
Okay.
It's, if somebody wants to come in and take a look at it, you bet, come on in and take a look at
Just like policy.
it. Exactly.
Okay.
But it's more of an administrative end, and now, like it states in the new policy, council shall approve the health and safety policy and any amendments thereto. Provide funding through the budget process to ensure appropriate training and the supply of adequate PPE to support the health and safety program of the municipality. Which is what my overview is, to make sure that when I come to you guys in all the budget deliberations under administration and public works, I'm budgeting to make sure we have health and safety stuff available, or stocked, and training and that kind of stuff. Ensure that the chief administrative officer fulfills the obligations of the municipality as an employer as set out in the OHSA Act, regulations and code. So it's clear.
So are the policies pretty similar throughout all villages and summer villages, are they really quite similar?
Yeah, because we have to follow OH&S, so basically what we've done is we have taken for small business, which we are, and now that employee manual is now 250 pages based on occupational health and safety regulations instead of the 111. And all the sheets are in here, the toolbox stuff, all these things have to be applied, and we should have been doing it a long time ago.
Okay, I was just thinking, maybe it's not necessary, but maybe it would be a good idea for council to have a meeting just for that document. You want us just to kind of overview it ourselves,
Yes,
ask questions?
it's because I don't make these regulations, this is stuff that's come from the province, so to make changes to this document, I'd have to rehire the consultant.
No,
To review.
I'm just saying, if we got together and just reviewed that document, or
Well-
should we just read it ourselves?
Just read it yourselves.
Yeah,
so that
no,
you're
I'm
aware.
good with that. So, yeah, so we get a copy of that just so we can read it sometime.
Yeah, because the
Now,
old policy,
As far
if
as,
you look at it,
oh, I'm sorry, as far as the manual, I think that's great that we've updated the manual. As far as this policy that we received, I haven't really had time to really review it properly because we just got it yesterday afternoon and I was out late last night. So as far as voting on the revised employee policy here that we've got here, I'm not really ready for that because I haven't really had a chance to review it properly. And I wonder if I could get a tracked copy of that too, of the changes.
Well, actually, the whole thing was completely changed.
Oh, was it
That's why
okay?
you have a
Okay.
brand new policy. The old policy was completely irrelevant.
Okay.
Did not fit in the roles and responsibilities that are supposed to be set out in a policy.
Okay.
So I will tell you right now, the old policy is completely wiped clean.
Okay, that's
Then
fine.
you-
But I just, like I say, I didn't really have a chance to review it properly here, the policy here, but so I think it probably, I agree that it needs to be done, but I just sort of briefly read it and haven't really read it in depth yet, so.
Do you wanna just table to the next meeting? The employee safety manual, I will implement either way, because that has to be.
Yeah, the
Wow.
manual I'm okay with because that follows just OHS and stuff, but the policy, I'm not comfortable voting on something until I've really had a chance to read it properly. And like I say, it came yesterday afternoon and I was out till late and I've skimmed it, but I really haven't read it thoroughly.
Yeah, so if you guys wanna table to the next meeting, good with that.
I would prefer that.
Okay, just need a motion from Bob.
I
You
would make the
want-
motion that we table that till the next meeting to just give us time to review it properly.
Perfect.
All in favor?
Yeah.
That was easy, yay.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure it'll be fine. It's just, I just want to make sure.
Yes,
Okay, business 7.1 municipal office site plan.
so administration requested Aptus Engineering to review the existing conditions of number 8 Front Street and provide a recommendation for location of the future prefabricated RTM municipal office building. Additionally, would like to review the potential relocation of the garbage bins due to concerns over containment and proximity to an existing French drain system. So they have done that. So they provided us with a conceptual plan for the proposed municipal office, which will be, Aptus has assumed all the measurements. And so the location where regrading and excessive construction would be kept to a minimum is preferred. 3 locations were proposed to the municipal engineers. And they conducted a geotechnical review with the following considerations. Boreholes, results adjacent to proposed site, extent of site preparation, required proximity to or relocation of other existing features, placement of water cistern and sanitary holding tank, and aesthetics. So attached is a summary from Aptus providing the results based on the above considerations for the 3 sites. So there was 3. One is by the signboard and cardboard dumpster location. Site 2 was the existing garbage dumpster location, and site 3 was south of the shop adjacent to Front Street. Based on the reports, the garbage can stay at the existing location with consideration as part of the capital budgets in the future to create a pad containment at the existing location. So what I've given to you guys is the Aptus report, 9 pages, the preliminary municipal building site plan, which is 2 pages, and then I sent you the additional geotechnical report as part of the background for the report. So I've attached it here, and I'm not too sure if council wants to approve. Or do you want to table for further review to the next meeting? That is your guys' call. But I've got the report now, we just gotta pick the site.
So the question, I have a question about like these, this, like for the dumpsters, there's this special containment thing or whatever, um, so it says those have to be pumped out. Like, do they fill up like every time it rains?
That would be something I need to get further information on if we are to do the containment, the way they presented it. So, again, that's a budget, that would be a budget capital. And I need to get further information on that part.
Like, I'm sure we can use grant money for that because it's environmentally good. A good
Correct.
thing. But I just sort of want, my question is, like, in looking at the picture of it, I don't understand it. Like, I'm thinking like every time it rains, it's gonna fill up, and then are we gonna have the septic truck come out every time it rains to suck that thing out?
Yeah, I think it needs more. We need more ideas on what it's gonna be like. I don't know.
I just didn't understand it myself, just because it looks to me like it's only maybe like 6 inches deep, so it doesn't take much of a rain to fill it up, sort of, you know?
Yeah, so.
I mean, I think it's a great idea. I think the concept is, from an environmental standpoint, is wonderful. But is it gonna mean that all of a sudden we're gonna be, you know, having to pay the septic guy to come out like 20 more times a year or whatever, you know?
Yeah, and that would be like I just got this report just like you guys did,
And,
so.
and what happens when it
Yours.
freezes in the winter and things like that and stuff, right? I
Yeah.
don't understand. I don't understand it myself. Like, it's just, you know, we don't have enough information for me to understand it, how it works. I'd like somebody to explain to me how it works, you know?
Yeah, and that's definitely, like they said, if you did not move the garbage bins, future considerations of capital, you could do this.
Yeah.
And that would be, that's kind of where it's at. But the location of the office, that was their recommendation not to move them. And choose one or the other based on the geotechnical.
Ed, have you seen anything in the oil patch with these containment systems?
Yeah, I have, and they do work, but it's, again, it's like Bob says, it's a money thing to get them drained, to get them cleaned out. The containment systems that I've dealt with and built myself are actually a lot bigger than what these guys are proposing. But to me, that's not the problem. The problem is where the dump site is now. Why are we leaving that dump site where we are putting, hopefully in the future, a new hall, a new administration building? Why are we leaving that thing there? We've got other places in the village that I know of that we can put that situation to bed. To me, I don't like any one of those locations that these guys have considered.
For the office? Is that what you're clarifying?
For the office as well, Ed?
Yeah,
So where would you like the office, Ed?
pardon me?
What's your idea for where the office should go?
Well, the office should be taking up some of that ground where number one is. I mean, in the future. I mean, or not the office, but the hall where I think the office should actually go, Bob. Bob, can you hear me?
Yep.
I think the office, or the new office, should go in where the trees are, up past where the land or the garbage dump is. So that it's elevated a little bit and it overlooks everything and it's back up out of the way. But I mean, that entails moving the garbage dump too. I mean, getting it completely out of there. Number one, I think is where the new hall situation is gonna take up some of that ground. Number three is taking up all our parking area for in front of our municipal building. And putting it right on top of where the garbage dump is. Why don't we move it back off that site and push it up the hill a little bit to make it more aesthetic and more appealing? That's just my thoughts.
Yeah, or else where that number one is, Ed, it could go towards the tennis court more and into the hill, like it's easy to cut that hill down as well.
That's very easy.
Yeah, like what, Dwayne, is it that has that machinery that did
Yeah,
backhoes?
yeah,
Like it wouldn't take
Yeah.
long to make that, and I think it is important that we realize with these weird weather patterns that we get, if we get a real big old dump, that if that office is situated right where it's at instead of up elevation wise, then we could run into some trouble because that French drain isn't gonna handle a whole bunch of a real serious dump of rain. So,
well, no, that's correct. We haven't had a real good dump of rain since that thing was built, but it's coming. But the problem is the number one problem right out of the chute is why is that French drain draining into the lake, period. This is one thing that I totally disagree with. There should be a plug put on the end of that pipe, and we should be pumping that stuff out accordingly and taking it to wherever it should be going, to a disposal site.
All stormwater management plans will have outlets that will go towards the lake. So you can't hypothetically, and through an engineer's point of view, it may not be a bad thing. Because every drain has to drain through an outlet, through a course that gets it back to a main source. So, yes, it may seem that it might not be right, but after review with the engineers, it didn't seem like it was wrong. Because you have to have outlets.
yeah, it's the same thing as the catch basin over in Maynard's subdivision there. Environment and protected areas were adamant of getting that released into the lake. And like I've said before, 15 or 20 years ago, you probably would have got shot. So, I don't know, I guess we have to rely on the engineering, that's for sure. But as far as the placement of the office, like it could go the same, almost the back wall of it on site number one.
Can go back.
If it was taken into that hill enough so that you would have to go up an incline, a slight incline to the base of the building. And so then that way you could have it as close to the ground as possible for the ramps, for the wheelchairs and one thing and another, and then the flood mitigation would get taken care of. And there's certainly room to take that hill out of there. Some of it to accommodate that size of building because it's not really huge building.
And then you have to remember that when they did all this stuff for us to get the site plan organized, they reviewed the 3 locations and based on the geotechnical data, location 2 is the least favorable upon review.
Yeah, unless it was put up the hill, because that was the slough. I was over there when they were drilling.
Right, but location 1 and 3 are comparable in terms of cost, so they looked at all this. In their high-level review, both options allow for the garbage bins to remain in place and have space for the water cisterns, sanitary holding tanks, Benefits of location 3 include more room for these tanks, while location 1 is preferable in terms of geotechnical.
I
Like,
guess
I think-
when I read this thing, I kind of look at it and think. Now I know location 1 was where we were planning possibly to do a new hall, or you know, whether we do a new hall or whether we do an expansion of the hall, that's in the future. That if we put it where number 1 is and just retrofit the garbage bins right now, if there was a safe way to do it, as the engineers have suggested, then in the future, if that could be where a new hall would go, and if we move the garbage bins, right?
And up on the hill is what you're saying.
Yeah. Like
Anything
the
else?
engineers seem to think that either 1 or 3 are the best locations, and they seem to be recommending number 1 with some kind of a containment system for the garbage is what the engineers are recommending, right?
Yep, and that would allow you to have time to budget for that through your capital grants.
Budget for the the containment thing? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, and as they said, they can be moved anywhere, so if you, somewhere down the line, you decide that the hall is going to be redone, you can move them. Everything.
What's your thought, Lauren?
My thought is we gotta dwell on the office for sure. But I'm certainly, my opinion is if we could still use or the site number 1, but move that into the hill so it's higher. And then we can play around with the dumpsters as a second priority, because we've got to get this building ordered and also get it on the way.
Well, the building's ordered and the building is being built. We've put down all our deposits. We've met all our grant deadlines. We've done what we needed to do. It's just now, as we move forward, you have to have the site plan so I can start moving that forward. So if you guys would like more time to
Well-
review this recommendation, so you feel comfortable with what the engineers have provided in their reasoning, then table. You got another meeting in February. We're not stuck yet, but we're gonna need a decision by February.
Yeah, and I think part of that discussion should be. Like I don't. The exact place where it's drawn as number 1, I don't agree with it. It's just too. It shortens all the parking down there. And it could easily be moved up into that hill, and I think it would be a safer place to have it out of an area that could potentially flood, because you know that whole the maintenance area down there is one big floodplain.
So you're talking moving it towards the lake, is that what you're saying, or towards the tennis court?
Yeah, towards the lake and also up towards the tennis court.
Okay,
So that it's into that hill, and you would have to have it in enough so that there's parking in front of it, but it's elevated from where the bottle shed and the give and take is. You don't have to have it a whole bunch elevated, but at least get it out of that floodplain.
yeah, no, I
So
agree.
do you guys, is that one of the things you'd like the engineers to provide, how far back they feel the building could go from in site 1 back into the hill? Because I can get that from the engineers as part of this report.
Well, I don't
That's what
know.
you're asking. Basically, you would need to know, is it possible? Could we do it? Based on the geotechnical.
Well, it gets better up the hill and away from the basin.
Yeah,
That used to be a slough.
so.
Yeah, no,
Always-
I think that makes sense to me. To get,
Edward, what do you think, Ed, about moving it into that hill?
I definitely agree totally 100% with you, Lauren, on getting it elevated, but the location, yeah, it would certainly do as long as we're not going to interfere with the new hall in the next 2, 3 years.
Yeah, no, I agree, Ed, and I think that, you know, it gives us time. I don't think that having I think having a new hall where the take it or leave it shed and the bottle thing, you could move the bottle the bottle thing or whatever, and that gives us time to. I don't want to rush on this garbage bin thing. You know, I want that done right. You know, because from an environmental standpoint, you know.
I agree.
So I think I kind of tend to agree with Lauren that we push the hall up the hill and we look into these containment things or whatever and get some more information to go underneath the garbage bins and we put that as a future possibility of where a hall could be or whatever, and it gives us time to make a real good decision on the garbage bins, you know.
Sounds okay to me, as long as we just don't go into that hill 3 feet. I mean, we gotta get that building right off of that site, number one, towards the lake and towards the tennis court. And there's no utilities in there, there's nothing, it's just clear. And I'll bet you that thing is if they drilled beside where that sign was and the ground was suitable there, it's even gonna get better as you go into that hill. It's got to.
The other
Okay.
thing about putting it into the hill is there's probably a good way of building a ramp for wheelchair access and stuff. I think going into the hill will give us a better chance to do a real nice aesthetic wheelchair ramp rather than some ugly thing going off the front of the building or something like that. You know, I think it gives us, you know, we could engineer that and make it look a lot more aesthetic if we go up into that hill a bit, you know, because we, you know,
Yeah,
we have to
Your
provide
handicap-
access to the wheelchairs and
Yeah.
but we want to
Your
do it in a
handicap
real
ramp
aesthetic
is
way.
definitely- Yeah, your handicap ramp is gonna be, I've been reviewing that, that's going to be a pretty easy thing, cause you'll probably end up doing pretty well part of a deck. And then at the other end, you will start your ramp and start doing your slope, so it all flows nicely. But you'll have your stairs over on the other side.
Yeah,
So that you've got no interference between either or. But what sounds like you guys are saying is you would like the engineers to review moving site one back into the hill. And what's their recommendations on distance that we could go into the hill?
yeah,
Which with the removal of the because you have an outhouse there, so we'd have to remove that outhouse.
Well, not if we move it towards the tennis court, we don't have to touch that out.
Okay, so we need to get the engineers to provide us how far back we can go into that hill to maintain putting in an office building and not disturbing any or making any issues. Does that make sense? I don't know how else to put it.
and if we have to move the outhouse, we have to move the outhouse.
Well, I think that needs to be on the radar. That may possibly have to.
Well, it's got the wrong tank under it anyway.
Well, then. As we're there, access for the public for the washroom is gonna be available.
Do it properly, do it properly from day one.
Yeah,
Yeah, like, yeah, we'll fix it all at one time.
so motion to have administration get further clarification on site one and moving it back into the hill,
And towards,
the tennis courts.
yeah,
Okay,
so it's right out of that low area.
and bring back to the next regular council meeting?
I guess so. So there should be some discussion, like, you said it's being built. So it's gonna be, on a frost wall foundation or on piles, or what's the,
At this point in time, the structure of the main building is being finalized with the engineering and how it's gonna be built. It is scheduled that it will be pilings, and we'll have to figure out how we're going to skirt. And set, that's why I have the engineers providing us a site plan. How do we fit the water, the sewer? They know all this information. That's why this report is here for you. So that we can make sure whatever you choose is a site plan based on all the data that they're providing you and the recommendations. We get it right the first time. If you need more clarification, that's what I want to seek, so that when you make your decision, you have it based on the information you've been provided. Because you need to have the background information, because when citizens approach you, you had the report done, you've done your due diligence.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
yeah, I just wonder about piles, but
I've been in a municipal office, it was done on pilings, it was skirted in properly. Proper skirting was made, it was wood, it had a frame, and then it was parched. So it looked like concrete, you didn't even know. And they never had any issues. But
I personally, I would have objection to that. Varmints, mice, whatever. Heat loss. I know they say there won't be much heat loss, but compared to a crawl space with that insulated, what do they call that stuff, Ed, that insulated walls?
Yeah,
Concrete in them?
Yeah,
Insulated blocks they're like for a basement, but if you're gonna do that and go with secure, I mean, have we decided was there a decision made whether we didn't want to put a basement under it or just
Well,
go the direction that we're going?
well, first, my concern is the building had to be finalized, so I've done that. I've got the
Yeah.
finalized drawings they're working on, okay, so we know the setup of that. I've asked them to build, the frame is built, whether it can go on pilings or you do a concrete foundation, that is your call, but there's a certain way it's gonna have to be to hold up the building. I need the site to be chosen and your reasoning and the backing material, why you're choosing that site, and then we'll move with the foundation. But for me, if I don't have a site, I'm not even gonna talk about the foundation at this point in time. The building is being done, that's what we're doing. The foundation is the next decision after we have a site.
So are the engineers going to give us a recommendation on foundation?
Yes, that's my next thing.
Okay, so we've got the building going. We'll talk about, get some advice from the engineers on how far we can push that building into the hill, and then ask them to give us a report on their recommendation for the foundation.
Yeah, because they've also provided a company that does tanks, they've also provided other different recommendations for us to consider. And that's where my next step after we choose the site would be the foundation part.
Okay, I just wanted to review, like, Andrew Spatula has had 2 reports to us.
Yeah,
And so I just wanted to go over some of the things.
yes,
So you guys got copies of Andrew's what he sent to us?
Yes,
I sent.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so.
I
Andrew
don't have
has
it in front. I don't have it in front of me.
I'll just read some of the stuff that I wanna make sure is out there for the building part. And he's had extensive career in this kind of stuff. And I guess what it does, it comes all the way down to what IGG thinks,
Correct.
as well as the building inspector, plumbing inspector, whatever else. And some of it is very valuable to us, but I'll just highlight here of what he did say. And also, we do have another building inspector in the village, a retired one, like Larry Robinson. Will give us some help too, if we needed it. I know it's kind of late, but him and Andy, or at least compare notes. So the exit door must swing outward. The main door.
And just so you're aware, I have talked with Matt, we've had these discussions and the Nelson Homes. And they understand these things based on the codes. And they also know because we are only gonna have occupancy of three,
Right.
that we won't need to have the sprinkler system, thank God, because the occupancy is less than a certain amount. They also understand that as they complete the finalized drawings and we submit them to the building codes, there may be changes that are required. But they do understand the radius of the handicap, they understand the front door has to swing out, and we had that discussion about it. And then we also discussed that the back door, which will be for staff only, I would prefer it swings in. So that, just like this one, because when you have snow piled up. If we came in and there's snow blocking the door, I need to be able to get in before I can get everything clear. Right? If it's the front coming out, will be a lot harder for me to be able to get into the building. So we've got one that is the public one, which is the actual, will swing out. The staff only will swing in. And in actuality, this building here does exactly that.
Okay, then the other, like the panic bar, he said you wouldn't need that.
No,
And since there's only three in there, you don't need one washer.
correct, and we are double checking, and he said if we have to finagle how the toilet and the sink thing goes and situation of it to make sure that 5 meter radius is there, they would be doing that.
Maybe the size of the one we got here.
Pretty well, yeah, yeah.
The other concern of Andrews was, of course, the ground. But we're still gonna have to have a ramp, it just won't be 3 feet out.
The ramp is going to be done separately than this contract itself. And they will have to meet all the code requirements and build it. They're gonna have to have the insurance, they're gonna have to have all the stuff I need, whoever it is awarded to. So that if there's any issues, they will be responsible. And it must meet code, which is 112.
Yeah. I guess the other part of that is, we have a resident welder. And could be done per plan and inspected by JD.
Yes, and I wanna just make sure that whatever we do, because I'm looking at all the other factors of. These ramps are all fantastic, I've seen tons of them, but when you get in certain weather conditions. They become difficult, no matter what you do. So I wanna make sure that whatever we get done, we do it taking into consideration our weather conditions. I have been where we've had them and they've been so slippery. The slopes are all right. But if you don't have the proper grit stuff that you're going to maintain it with, it's just gonna become another issue.
Or like the catwalk by the dumpsters, that's not a problem.
Correct. Yeah, so is it better to do metal, do some wood, some metal? I don't know. But I want to make sure that we go through the whole process and we get the proper quotes and we review it all and award it to the proper contractor who has all the insurance and is going to be accountable.
Okay,
Okay, and I think that whatever is being done. Like they've started to build already. So. If there's any revisions to the last plan that we got.
Yeah.
I think council should have. Another set of what's being done. If there's any changes.
There will be, right now they're finalizing those plans and then I have to submit them for my codes. And then we'll get the review by the safety codes on if there's any changes. Changes will have to be made if the code says we have to. So nothing is concrete until we have safety codes approval. And then it will move forward. So yes, there's gonna be more updates. I'll keep you guys in tabs of what things are going. But the gist of the building shape and the design of where things are situated is going to be that way. It's meeting all the requirements that we have to fit with that extra office for an additional person, if ever, or renting out, whatever, but the concept of the building is the right size for the municipality at this point in time with a little bit of room.
But as long as, as long as council knows what's going on. By drawing, so we can see what's going on, because we get asked questions and if we don't know. We'd like to be able to show somebody. This is what we're doing, and I think it should also. Once it's to the point where you're gonna have to get a development permit for it or whatever.
Yeah.
Then it's gotta go on our website and the whole schmear, so that ratepayers know, and possibly we could even have some kind of a meeting. Just to let us be more transparent with this, because a lot of people don't know what's going on.
Correct. And I agree with you, the transparency is just, you need a municipal office.
Well,
If you-
that's what we're doing.
Yeah, and the office is meant for municipal purposes, so I am trying to move this forward for council to get us situated in your municipality, so that moving forward, everything is there. The operation is operating out of the municipality and taking care of the needs of the residents. You're doing the best with the best of your abilities with the information I can gather for you to make the most conscientious and rational decision based on the situation you're at. And I agree, no ratepayer is ever going to totally agree with everything, but you have to move forward with an office.
Oh, yeah, we're all in favor of that, that's why
Yeah.
we're doing it.
Yeah.
But transparency is also an important thing.
Yeah,
And if we, in my opinion only. I don't believe we should be cheaping out on anything. As far as foundation. Siding, so if we wanna put a tin roof on it or whatever else.
Mhm.
Do it,
yes,
like we have the grant money to do it,
yeah,
and we're gonna have more. Problems down the road, it seems like, with that new grant system that they got going too.
well, actually, some yes, some no. A lot of it is you're going to have some good actual planning. And they want plans, they want municipalities to start preparing for the future and not going year by year. That's what they're pushing for, is they don't want you doing this anymore, we wanna see consistent spending and improvements moving forward. Which, they're not wrong. They're not wrong at all.
No, because a lot of municipalities get to the point where they haven't used it, like it happened to us, happened to Ocean Sands before, it's happened to other villages. So that is probably a better thing, but we also got to realize that the money that we spent before the 31st of January last year, that's the MSI to 2018.
Correct, and I'm still, that's why I'm working as hard as I can to look at future stuff that's already on your guys' list. And try and get those capital items taken care of in a consistent future manner. So what's next, what can move to this year, so that we actually can start reporting accurately, at least 10% of the funds get spent annually, because that's all they're looking for.
Yeah, and then there was some mention of a 5-year deadline too.
Yes, and they're gonna want these plans for 5 years, you bet. But right now, I wanna get you guys to where, because as a small municipality, you may need to bank for 5 years for a bigger project, but you have to have a plan.
Okay, so I guess we need some kind of motion to give administration direction to maximize into the hill behind where site number 1 is, and move it as much as possible towards the tennis court. Is that something that's acceptable?
Next meeting?
To
Yeah.
get advice from the engineers
Engineer.
as to how far we can get it up into the hill feasibly and towards the tennis courts, and to give us some advice on types of foundations that we should be looking at.
Okay,
I have to have administration. I have to have administration find more clarity from the engineers about moving the location back more into the hillside towards the tennis courts from location 1. Bring back the findings to the next regular council meeting on February 21st, 2024.
okay, but to include foundation recommendations.
Oh, and. Is this from the engineers still too?
Yes,
Okay.
because they've done the testing there, they'll know what can happen, what would be best suited, what we should do.
Okay, to have administration find more clarity from the engineers about moving the location back more into the hillside towards the tennis courts from location 1, and also have foundation recommendations. So that the information.
How about foundation recommendations based on the geotechnical report?
Is.
Nice, step back for a second, you want to-
Yeah, I got it. 3, 4. Sorry. And the findings. Hold on. And have the findings. All right, we'll try this again. To have administration find more clarity from the engineers about moving the location back more into the hillside towards the tennis courts from location 1, and also have foundation recommendations based on the geotechnical report, and have the findings brought back to the next regular council meeting on February 21st, 2024. Sounds good.
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
All in favor?
Yeah.
Thank you. So. Council reports. Ed?
I don't have anything at this time, Lauren.
Okay, thank you. Bob?
On Friday, I'm going to a planning session for the waste management for County of Stettler. So it's a day-long meeting. Future planning, and because there's some concerns about the costs getting going up significantly over the next number of years.
Okay, so I guess if you could, I don't know whether like with the discussion at that meeting will be fairly substantial, but I guess, if you can take a real good set of notes so we can get clarification from you with, backup.
Yeah,
uh,
yeah,
Boss. I mean, the meeting might be recorded, I have no idea, but if it's an all-day meeting, it'd be easier to get highlights, what they're worried about.
yeah, yeah. So anyhow, I'll have a report back on that for the next council meeting.
So I had a few things here, not too bad. But when the boat motor got ripped off the barge. I think I asked Melissa and there was no application for insurance on it. And so that's, we're looking at probably $5,000 or more to replace the motor if we do that this year. Is it too late to put in a claim? Or is it worth it?
I don't know if it's worth it at this point. What I'm doing is, just so you're aware, I have Public Works is making an appointment to take that boat into Heartland and and you should always have an inspection done annually. And I don't think an inspection's been done on that boat, so we're gonna do an inspection and get recommendations on, is there any issues? Do we need any repairs? And what would be the cost?
Okay, good.
Yeah, and I guess to go along with that statement, we have no idea whether we're gonna put in no wake buoys again this year. I mean, last year it was pointless. So maybe it won't be an issue, but it's kind of like gambling too, isn't it? I don't know.
Yeah,
Okay, got that done. There's been some discussion on that carriage road that goes up to Lance Olson's place. And I guess you guys know the whole story about it because it is on municipal reserve and then it goes on to private property, so it's not even a registered road. It's only partly registered on land titles, just on 2 of the lots out of the 3. The third got left off, that's why it's where it's at. And the MR there is, I believe it's only around, Ed, I think we measured that one time and it was around 16 or 18 feet, something in there.
Yeah,
It
it wasn't
was-
very much. Yeah, it wasn't very much.
So right now, the folks up there to access the properties and Lance is moving in there full time. It's very skinny and is on MR and is not a registered road. And it goes in pretty good, but then it takes a real steep going up. And there was that one time that we had the tractor going up there and I thought it was the new tractor, but it might have been the old tractor and it actually slid off the trail and hit a power pole and broke the power pole. And it was a mess getting that fixed up. So it's not an easy place to maintain in winter. And I don't know whether the truck would be able to go up there and turn around. The problem is with the whole situation is whatever you do up there to turn around, you have to go on someone's private property. Because it just, like none of that is registered on Lance's property because he's the last lot, but it's registered on the 2 in between and then not the one on Mackenzie. And Jeff Presswood that has the house to the east of the road, the MR. He does not want anything to do with anything sloughing on his property or anything about that. no encroachments of any gravel or anything on his property. So it's a real tight area there. And I personally don't, I know we've gone over it before, but I just don't know the answer. We have had some ATCO. I got an estimate to move the power line off that right away there and put it down Nicole. And at that time, it was $18,000. Plus, you would have to ditch into all the property for the power. So all their power would have to be changed. And it would still not do anything about the bottom part of that road, it would still be really, really skinny. So I don't know what the answer is, but we gotta have someone to be able to get up there, emergency vehicles, I don't know, and
Okay, so I guess for me. Here's the situation. I don't have enough info. For one, I don't have anything in writing. So if somebody has contacted you, can you have them direct what their request is in writing to administration? So that I can do a review. And maybe that's what you need is for me to give me a resolution. Because at this point in time, I need to have time to talk with Leanne, talk with others, take a better look at this. Is it a private road? Is it a public road? What precedent are you gonna set? And what are the costs? Or what do you wanna do? Are you gonna make it a public roadway or is it not a public roadway? I think I need further investigation, but it would really be nice to have something in writing so that whatever decisions council makes based on the information we gather, there's gonna be a cost. You're gonna set a precedent. How do you wanna do this?
and it's complicated.
So-
I gave Dean the whole file on the thing, I don't know where.
I think the owner of the property needs to provide a written thing to administration, written request of what their expectations are before you guys, because one, is there enough turnaround space? Probably not, is what you're saying. It has to be on private property. What's the liability and risks? Who's willing to sign off? You're saying other people don't want snow on their property. It's not an actual roadway. Is there a cost for us to do private driveway maintenance? And if you open that door, are you gonna do it for everybody? I guess that for me, until I have something in writing, I really think my recommendation would be to have that person put it in writing, bring it to the office here, send it by email. I can do a review on it and do an RFD, and then you could make a decision based on all that info. But that's just what
Well, that's the way it has to go, but in the meantime. If we get a big old dump, I don't know,
well, that is why this should have been, I guess, bringing it now. When prior to it, we had no snow, nobody's ever come and had a discussion. We need to start having these discussions because this, if it is, after I have a discussion with Leanne this afternoon, and it is a private driveway. This opens a whole nother can of worms that council's gonna have to take a look at.
well, yes, the intent was to have it. A carriage road, so it was all on private property,
Okay,
but that portion of the road. Only got put on the two middle properties and not the one on Mackenzie.
so then maybe what's gonna have to happen is some kind of agreement or something. Will have to be made or arranged, and I would. Based on everything I could find out, I'd bring that recommendation to you guys to decide. Do you want, but we need something in writing because if there's any liabilities or risks. For one, are we going to do this for all?
Well, the portion of the road they use right now in the beginning is on MR,
Okay,
100%.
there you go, okay,
And then you turn in and then it goes on some private property, about a lot and a half of private property.
right, but that municipal reserve was for what reason when it was created?
It was just a division in between the two, like, Sarah, not Sarah Crescent, whatever you call it this. And
Actually,
Yeah, Shalene and Nicole. It was just a short strip of property, but
So the MR was kind of just there as
a buffer zone.
buffer zone. And then it became a kind of driveway of what's the agreements with all the properties. This is my concern.
I'll get you all the information, I'll put it together, because I got it in the file.
Okay, I do have a call in to our development officer to gather information, but really. I think you guys need to refer this to administration. At this point in time, I just don't feel I adequately give you any info because I don't know enough about it. So refer for administration to gather the information regarding that carriage road right away and bring back the information for council to get an understanding. But I think the first thing is that property owner needs to send in writing what they're requesting.
Yeah, I'll get them to send you something.
Does that make any sense? Like, I just can't give you anything because I don't know.
Yeah, we can't solve it today. We have to
Yeah,
get
we
all the
can't.
information gathered and yeah, maybe get the homeowner to write something up, and then Lauren's got a lot of history on that, and there probably is a file somewhere from previous administration.
What's there?
Yeah. Because I think you need to have all the info and any recommendations I can find so that you can make a decision based on everything and understanding the whole and a precedent and all that stuff.
Okay, well, I'll dig it up.
Okay, so get him to send something in
I'll
writing.
dig up stuff for you,
Yes. But
and then I'll get Lance to get doctor a letter up to administration.
yes, please.
Their
Uh,
motion?
Well, at this point, I don't think it's a motion until we receive the letter.
Okay.
Would you guys agree?
Yeah, no, I don't think we need a motion. I think that, I think
But
this
we
is,
have-
we're still in the sorting out stage right here, you know?
And we had a different development officer at the time when it was figured out and everything else, and then after all the investigation was done, council decided to just leave it because no one was living there.
Okay, well, I think,
Basically what happened.
so I think now what we need to do is actually take a really good look at this. But based on a letter from a property owner requesting and laying out what their expectations are.
Yeah, and I guess the last I have to say about it, the developer did not develop them for properties. The village did. This was a long time ago.
So that is the, again, another question would be, is the village willing to register that MR as an actual roadway? Again, I don't know until I gather,
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about it all day here, but it's just,
yeah, so,
I mean, ultimately, we're in a situation now where, you know, Lance is living up there through the winter now, like he used to be, you know, I think he's moved up there full time, and it's a safety issue now with you know, like you say, emergency vehicles and things like that, right? That we want to, you know, help him out and make it as safe as possible for him to live there peacefully, you know?
and also they're going away, I think, and they have a house checker that can't get up there. So,
yeah.
okay,
But again, we need to be able to have something that we're gonna be concrete, and how we're gonna move forward if we run into another situation like this. How do we deal with it? Let's get everything set.
Yeah, no, okay. Move on.
okay, so Melissa and I have been kind of working together on no parking signs, just to accentuate them around in the village where they're needed. And the new phase 2 in Maynard subdivision. The Mark Dennis fire chief was down there and relayed to Leanne, I'm pretty sure it was Leanne was with him. That there should be no parking on the roadways at all in subdivision because of the width and the ditches are so deep there for drainage, right?
Yeah,
So that's probably gonna happen. That's up to the village. The village has the right to do that. And then the other part is accentuating the no parking signs in some areas. That need it and make it more clear, because obviously we're gonna have, 318 lots up the hill. And parking is gonna be, very difficult.
yeah. Well, certainly those lots are all big enough there in that area that they can park on their own lots. You know, they don't need to be
That's-
parking on the road.
In Maynard's, yeah.
Yeah, like those lots are all big throughout that ranch estates there.
Okay. And Melissa, I was wondering, generally this time of year, we get RV inspection done. Just to set a baseline, I don't know whether you want to do it, but we have done it in the past.
An RV inspection, you mean go around, see what's sitting there?
Yeah,
We did it with us.
We did?
yeah, it's just a start of a baseline, usually January, February, whatever, that she starts.
We will contact Miss Tate and see what her schedule is to get that completed.
Okay.
That's administrative.
Talk about that, and just final thing, Bob's gone from January 21st to March 4th,
Okay,
but also has his phone, the phone works, it's got an American plan on it, and it's, internet is available.
Yeah, and
so,
I'll be zooming into the next meeting. I'll be full access. Yeah, it's just I'll be out of the country.
okay. So if I can pull all my capital stuff together and ask for a capital budget meeting to review, you'd be available through Zoom if I create everything?
Absolutely, yeah. No, I'm available Zoom and cell phone for the next
Okay.
month.
Perfect.
And I think probably we'd have to be conscious of timelines.
Yeah.
Are you out 4 hours, Bob, or 3?
3 hours.
Yeah.
But I don't mind like 9 o'clock. I don't mind getting up at like 6:30 there. I'll be up early. So I just as soon have the meetings like 9 o'clock in the morning your time, so or 9:30 and have them done. Then I can be available to go do stuff. Then I'm free at 9 o'clock for the rest of the day where I am.
Okay.
I will make sure that whatever I do, I send out different dates and times, and then you guys get to figure out what's gonna work best for all of us.
Yeah.
Ed, you're going to be away when?
Sorry, I'm away from January 21st to March 4th.
Okay, yeah, Ed, are you away at any time?
Yeah, looks like the third week in February until the first week in April.
Okay.
First week of April.
Yeah.
Laura?
And
And
the end of the. Oh, and then the first from,
third week of February to the first week of April. For Ed. And Lauren, what's your,
well, if everything goes right, March 1st to March 31st.
okay? This is helping me immensely, guys, thank you.
But I think I'm in the same situation as Bob. It's just that the American number is capped as cell phone,
Okay,
and then the internet, it's. Wow.
fine, yes, no, I am good. I just wanna make sure that I have this, so I can keep this in consideration as I'm building the budgets and all that kind of stuff.
Is Ed available through your cell phone or Zoom when he's gone?
Ed, will you be available through Zoom, internet, or cell phone, what's preferable?
Yes, I will.
So internet's good?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So everybody seems to be good with internet, I like that.
So Ed, is it the whole third week of February, the whole week of, third week of February?
Yes,
Okay, and then you're back after the first week in April?
Yes.
that's correct.
Okay. Thanks. That's all I got. CAO report?
You have to, so now we changed our agenda because of the last policy, now you have to do a motion to accept the council reports.
Sorry, your new procedural bylaws.
Need a motion to accept reports
Presented,
as presented? I'll move that.
okay.
All in favor?
I agree, yeah.
We'll get used to this, guys. Okay, I provided a written report. I'm hoping you guys have been able to take a look at it. I don't have anything new other than I met with a ratepayer yesterday. It was very productive. And so otherwise, I think I've got my safety codes in there. The only one I was asking for permission by council is, do you want me to do the Brownlee LLP? I would actually like to do it. Session,
I would say absolutely.
Yes,
Yeah,
do you mind whether I do it? If weather's good, I would drive up there. Are you okay? If it's not, I'm gonna do virtual.
Yeah, and if you go out there, then you gotta take a room.
Yes,
Like it's a pretty intense seminar.
been to many of them.
Yeah. and-
It's a lot of networking. It's very good.
Yeah, no, I think that's important.
Yes.
Don't think I'm gonna attend it because of some of the agenda items.
Yeah.
As well as this is my last term as far as I,
Okay.
Is that a motion for that or no?
I would like a motion so that it's
yeah, I'll move that.
You have administration,
attend the Brownlee LLP session in either capacity, virtual or personal. Or however, I don't know that word.
virtual,
And they're asking for registration again.
Yes.
Next week.
Yeah, I have to do that, but I wanted to get your permission first. Otherwise, any other questions on my report?
Yeah, as the bullet there, says employee pays 100% of life accidental death and dismembered and then
Yes,
dependent life, and then also the shared contribution for health, vision and dental. What is what was decided on the?
you guys had based it on the number that I presented to you at 60%. But as I reviewed everything and got the breakdowns of who has to pay what, all by themselves, and there's a reason you pay 100% of certain life, death, dependent, those kind of benefits, is because if we pay it, it's taxable when they go to pull it. If they pay it, it's not taxable. So that's how they do it. So based on the number that you guys have provided to me, and then I went through my agreement and everything, and it ended up working out to be a 75%. That worked out to be of almost equal value.
So 75% we pay and
25% the employee pays, except for mine, which is a contract, which is different. And it still keeps us within the numbers.
so one question I had is, so for this, local government framework grant thing or whatever, so there's an operating component there. Do we have to apply for that right away, or how do we go about getting that money? Because it's $18,000, so it's pretty nice amount of money.
That comes annually, and it's the deadline that they usually submit it to us is usually what, May? When they release, after they do their budget, we usually start getting our payments.
Sorry.
But the replacement for the.
The MSI.
Oh,
The MSI operating comes in annually.
Yeah.
So they will do that deposit after they do their budgets. So yeah, that's always been there. They had it as MSI operating and then MSI capital. So I was quite surprised that they didn't take it away, thank God, because it does help in our operations. But yeah, and then we just report on it annually.
And
Okay.
the capital component of that just sits there until we decide what to do with it, sort of thing? We have to provide them with a reason for using it or whatever?
This is where the fun parts begin. So what we do is every year, we have a deadline that we have to do reporting to show what we're spending and meeting their requirements as per the agreement. So we will be doing all our 2023 reporting. And we have to have that in before May 1st. We're gonna actually do it at the end of this month, beginning of February. So we're gonna get that all cleaned up, so the reporting for 2023 will be done. And then we will be doing the application for 2024, and that's why I'm trying to gather all of the information and quotes so that I can have you guys go through and create the capital plan for being able to apply for the 2024 projects. Does that make sense?
Okay,
Yeah, and I guess it is. There's still some conversation on how it's gonna end up, the new system. But we also are under the MSI because we still have funding there as well.
Right, and until that old MSI funding is spent, and I'm not too sure, because if the regulations for that were different than the LGFF. The LGFF now allows you to purchase property. Where you couldn't do that before. You already had to own the property, or you had to spend taxpayers' money to buy the property. But now you won't, you can actually use grant money, but there are conditions.
Yeah, there's that seminar, that Zoom seminar coming up here pretty quick.
Yes. Yeah. But yeah, there's some new points that are okay, there are some other things that still have questions.
Okay. Thank you, and I guess the action list, I guess the one that's pending is the sewer lagoon.
Yeah, that's gonna go with that meeting that after talking with Yvette, they're working on, because we got quite a few items we need to talk about.
I would kind of like it if I was around when that happens, but if not possible, I guess.
We're gonna work it as best I can.
I guess I can always, I can zoom in.
Yes, yes. And then the other list is all of what we have completed so far based on your resolution. That's not everything, because there's always more stuff we're doing.
this resolution based.
Yeah, either the action list is resolution based.
Okay, so financials, do we need a
no.
motion?
Need motion, so we're gonna officially do the first one for Melissa to have administration attend the Brownlee LLP training session in virtual or in person. So I need that,
Well, I'll move that.
move that one, okay,
All in favor?
I'm in favor.
okay, and the next one is accept the CEO reports as presented.
I'll make that motion.
Okay,
All in favor?
Yes,
Yeah,
alright, now we're gonna just.
Okay, so. You want to take us through the financials, please?
Well, here we go, yes, statement of revenue and expenditures. So of course, 2023 budget. Actual, well, at this point, when we did this report, we're still in the good. So we're just finalizing any back invoices that come late in January that are backdated for December, right? So this can fluctuate, but so far so good, we're doing good.
At the school,
Yes, it came out at the end of the month.
Yes.
That was
December, so
71,000, right? That's paid out, right? All
Yeah.
the big government, the big numbers have been sent out.
Yes.
Yes,
Your last check run was astronomical.
yes.
Yeah,
We have done lots. So your statement of capital revenue and expenditures, so if you take a look, we've made our capital expenditure, we've spent 286,137, so that's capital. We met the requirements we needed to do,
good.
okay? That was my main goal, was to make sure we did not lose any money. And thanks to Lori, we made sure we got it done. Check listing for January 2nd. And as you can see, it was quite a large amount because we paid everything. We were trying to clear up the year end. Your bank reconciliation, so if you take a look, it shows as of December 31st. You'll see what our total cash on hand and on deposit. So we're sitting at about 1.3, our total operating funds are a little over 800,000. And then we gave you a copy of where things sat at the end of December. We wanted to make sure we keep everything balancing. And then on page 26 of your package, you will see that's our GICs and our term investments. And the accrued interest we are getting on those. So I just wanted you to be aware we are getting interest on that. Which is looking pretty good. Anything that's capital, MSI funding and all that, we do have to report the interest that we accrue. As part of our reporting. So is there anything else? Did I cover any questions?
I guess my other question is, if there's money not in the GICs, can we set up a high interest savings account? Just to, so like if there's, say, we know we're gonna need $200,000 in the next month, and we don't want to put it into a GIC, if we had a high interest savings account that we can move within 24 or 48 hours, we might as well maximize every penny that we can get out of the bank stuff. Is that possible?
Yes, in December, the bank lady came out and we had that discussion, and that was what she was gonna do, was change it to a high interest
Okay.
earning account.
There's no point walking away from any money from a bank,
Yes, so that was already discussed,
Okay.
December when she came up to the office. You bet.
Okay, thank you, that's good.
Working towards that.
Okay,
Okay, so can we
Yes.
just have one motion?
Yeah, accept all financial reports as presented.
Yep,
Okay,
I can make
Let's
that
do it.
motion.
Awesome. Okay.
okay, so the correspondence. There was some information there on the new funding program for grants. Did you folks read them letters?
Yeah, as much as I understood of it.
I do, I'll pick you in for it.
There is some stuff in there that isn't finalized either yet, because we're
No,
still
it's very interesting.
scoring back and forth.
I think the one that'll probably have the most concern with a lot of municipalities is if they have to have certain long-term plans, not every municipality has been in that thing that's set up yet, so, or they decide to add asset management as part of it. That could make things a little more complicated for smaller municipalities.
Okay, so the Hall Society request information for the Big Jack Classic.
Yeah, this, I guess, this is where council doesn't have any type of policy that sets out a budget number on how much you're willing to spend on any kind of stuff like this, and most municipalities do have a policy that kind of lays out a budget number, and once you hit that budget number annually, that's it.
Yeah, so last year we did 500.
Did we do 500? Because I saw 200 somewhere.
No, by the time you guys were done, I think it was 500 you did,
Okay.
and then the Hall Society received a $500 donation. But it's still, it's $500 the municipality spends.
It kind of sounds like the I don't know, the Hall Society isn't that interested in any of it? Is that what? Did you gather that, Ed?
Well, I haven't really heard. It's, I know, what's her name there? She's going under, she's having her hip replacement here tomorrow, I think, Tamara. And I think she was trying to pass it on to a couple of the other people that might be interested in it. I haven't attended any other meetings with the Big Jack Classic because we're not going to be here. So I didn't want to get too involved in it this year. So
My read on it was that the Hall Society didn't feel like it was in their purview to give a donation, and they were passing that along to us to make a decision from a council standpoint.
Okay, so then we have to make a decision whether we're gonna donate or not.
So Ed, do you feel like this provides good value to the village to have it?
in my honest opinion, no. I mean, it was a huge hit last year. I don't know how they're going to make out this year. Weather is such a factor to staging this that whether it's going to make it. I know last year they surpassed their expectations considerably. To me, I unless we've got a bigger hall, there's nothing that we can really help them out with. And until we get a bigger hall, I don't think that the Hall Society is going to be prepared to help out with this because they know the situation that we're in. We don't have enough room to stage anything like that. And it's I mean, if it keeps going over year after year and gets bigger and bigger, it would be a good thing for us as long as we had room for them. But we got no room for them, and I think that's what the Hall Society is basing their decisions on.
Yes, on top of that is that would be a function thing, but on top of that would also be, Ed, that like if they set up let's say hot dogs and hamburgers and whatever and got a license to sell beer or something, it's a real big gamble because you don't know how many people is going to come there, and then you're left with the leftovers if it doesn't go out, and staffing it, it's a difficult situation for some people to staff something like that, especially on Family Day weekend. And it's a big commitment on part of the whole society. That's probably one of the other reasons as well.
Well, again, that's what I say. This thing is weather dependent. It's just like a lot of stuff we do out here. Our curling bonspiel is weather dependent because in the last couple of years that we've had that bonspiel, we made it by 1 hour, not 1 day, 1 hour before that ice turned into a water pail. And I mean, this if we get minus 30 below weather for this fish derby, which can happen at that time of the year, I mean, they're not going to have the participants that they're hoping for.
Yeah.
I guess this becomes, as Melissa says, a budget discussion. Do we set a budget, a yearly budget for this? We don't have that really at this point in time. This is all one-off things and stuff like that we need to, this needs to be part of our budget discussion down the line.
You need to create a policy and then you're gonna give it a budget number. Yeah,
Well, if the Hall
So-
Society doesn't want to, if the Hall Society doesn't want to chip in with making a contribution to this as far as money wise goes, I don't think that the village should myself.
Yeah, I'm kind of worried that we don't want to be setting a precedent, right? Like at least, you know, if we hold something like the curling bonspiel or something, you know, it's all people from the village, but this Big Jack, could be people from all over the place, right?
I
Like-
agree with you, Bob. Yeah, I know your way of thinking. Exactly.
Like there may be like 3 people from the village involved in it, and there could be, you know, 100 people from Big Valley. I mean, I'm exaggerating here, but and why are we supporting them, you know?
Well, I think probably one of the main things too is that the Board of Trade wants it for the town, particularly the town, town businesses for hotels, motels, people eating there and whatever else. It's kind of a within the county of Stellar support, but it's basically based out of most of it's Stellar, well, and Roach and Sands, but
The dance, or dance field.
that's a banger.
I think their intention is to eventually move it out to one of the organizations at the lake. Eventually, but that's hindsight. I have to go with what's here and received. So this was forwarded, this council in approval of this, or is council not in approval of this and would like administration to create a I don't even know the name of it anymore, a policy that would cover off and create a budget?
Well, it'd be a recreational budget, so it would include things like fireworks. If 1 year they wanted to put off fireworks in the village or something like that, if the parade needed something.
Yeah.
Recreational. Some,
So how about a community grant request, and you're gonna have a budget number, and you're gonna set up a policy, and you're gonna have an application, and once that money's gone, it's gone, 5 years.
yeah, and then some of it is based on grants, cultural grants and stuff as well.
And guidelines, right?
This would be budget money from taxpayers, so you want to create a community grant policy. Is what you're looking for, so at this point in time, you can deny this request and refer to administration to create a community grant policy with a budget number. For review.
I think that's the way to go.
Yeah, so do one motion for what you're gonna do with this request, and then another motion giving me direction to create the community grant policy.
Okay, we need a motion.
I would make a motion that we deny it based on we haven't really set a budget for it this year.
There you go.
All in favor?
Okay,
Yeah.
and
I think probably then the second part would be,
Director.
like, I know you're getting loaded down with all these policies and shit, but
loves it.
We don't have a choice because the policy for my clear direction when I'm creating these budgets, like. To clean up the policies is key for me.
well, we didn't have any before.
This
But the other thing is,
helping.
the other thing is something like this doesn't have to be done in the next week. If we don't have this policy set till May or June or whatever, say la vie. Like it's not, this isn't an emergency right now that we need this done for the next council meeting or whatever, right? Like you put this, you have a priority and this could be fairly low on the priority list, right? And you know,
I hear you, but I think you need to give me direction to create a community grant policy with a budget number for in relation to budget approvals.
okay.
So that would give me time to, when you go to approve your budgets, you're gonna approve some policies. Make sense?
Yeah, because that would have to be done this year.
Like, I like to have kind of a deadline goal because that tells me how it relates. I understand what you're saying and thank you, but in a lot of ways, I wanna get this done.
Okay, fair enough. But just,
Thank you.
yeah, but just, you know,
One deadline.
it doesn't, just be aware that there's certain things that don't have to be done immediately.
The 2024 budget.
Yeah,
Oh, Tuesday, so.
so we need a motion for that to create that.
Yes, so direct administration to create a community grant policy with a budget number in relation to budget approvals.
To the 2024 budget approval.
Okay, nice.
With guidelines, do we want the word guideline in there?
Yes, add with guidelines.
Guidelines.
I know where to go look for some of those, so I'm okay. There are communities that have that.
Yeah, I guess that's the thing, right? Is if you can borrow this stuff, then makes your job a lot easier, right?
Yes, and then just tweak it to fit for us.
Okay, and all in favor?
Who made the
Or who
motion?
made the motion? Ed made the motion?
Bob, me,
Yeah.
Okay, and then all in favor?
Yeah,
perfect.
Okay, watershed stewardship.
I added that as information in case any of you are on any of these societies and things like that, because that's what it's for. That they should be aware of this, so it's awareness to council, and if you're on any of those committees or attend any of those sessions, you should make them aware.
Okay,
That's the remaining correspondence and information.
Yeah, there'll have to be a motion on the rest.
well, if we accept the correspondence
That's information.
as information, all in favor?
yes,
Okay. Who we got in the building here?
It's Lori.
It's Lori,
So
it's
that-
staff,
That's okay.
it's finance.
Okay, so can I? We're gonna move into camera in 2 seconds. So if we're gonna go into camera, so I don't stop the live feed, I need you to mute and take off the camera on your Zoom. And I will call you from my cell phone and do a 3-way chat between you two counselors and us. Just give me a few. Okay,
so you need us to do
So-
what? Mute?
I need you to mute and turn off your cameras. While we're in camera for now, so I don't have to make 2 streams.
So,
Alright. Oh, and then you're gonna make the motion on camera.
Okay, so can they still hear us?
They can right now, but you still have to make the motion to go to camera.
And
Okay,
then one of them they'll have to do their,
They'll have to let you know that they agree to it, so they will have to move for that part, but once we're in camera, I want that done.
Okay, I'll move that we go in camera. And it's a human resource
It's personnel.
personnel.
Okay, hold on, move into camera at 11:43 AM. Okay,
And it's under the FOIP section, item section.
okay, and I will mute us and turn off our camera.
And we're on.
Let's start our video. Come on. Oh, there we go. Okay, Lauren.
We're all back.
Yeah,
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to move out of closed session or whatever.
Move back, Cameron.
okay, I agree.
Okay, all in favor, yeah, Ed?
Yep.
Okay, thanks very much. And the next thing we need is a motion for, unless there's anything else you guys want to say before we adjourn.
No, I think we're good.
No, we're good. I'm good here.
Okay, and,
I'll make that motion.
Okay,
okay,
at 11:58.
Wonderful, productive meeting, guys. Woo-hoo.
Okay, thank
okay.
you.
Thanks very much.
Okay.
And Bob, have a good trip.
Yeah, well,